Clarkston Genealogy Society, which many of us are part of the members, and you're always welcome. They meet the third Thursday of the month at 10:15 here in this community room. And we're very appreciative of the help we get from the Clarkston Independence District Library. So you should have 3 things on your table, something pink, something yellow, and something white. Let's take out your white Pioneer certificate, and we're just going to go over this for a little bit, and then we're going to go on. This is something that the Michigan Genealogical Council is doing to bring in information to the Michigan archives. And so there's 2 parts to this. This is a certificate program. If you fill this out, and of course this workshop is free, but when you fill it out, they're going to want $25, at least if for one name and one certificate. If you fill it out for pre-statehood and you fill it out for first families, because you can do that, they want two $25 fees. You know, if you're happy with the pre-statehood and you don't want first families, it's up to you. That's a choice that you will have. Your eligibility it's a direct line. Adoptions are not considered a direct line, so it's a direct line. It can't be your great uncle or your grandma's sister or something like that. It has to be a direct line back to a grandparent along the way. I'm going to do their PowerPoint first. This was done by the Michigan Genealogy Council. So the pioneers were the people who came, and the pioneers came before January 26, 1837, to be for pre-statehood, because statehood was January 26. As I said, promoting the research repositories. So other people can see your information. They cannot see your birth certificate or any birth certificate for 100 years. But they can see that's how you proved. They can see something called BC, birth certificate, and so they can prove it. But they cannot see your birth certificate or probably your parent's birth certificate, depending on the age of your parent. So the information will go into the Archives of Michigan Library of Michigan and then local libraries. And then it'll be available for future researchers. The 2 categories, that's the certificate, a first family certificate for George and Sally Frothingham to honor their ancestors, and then Mary Margaret Johnson is the 3rd great-granddaughter. The pre-statehood has a medal or pin. It's a very nice, about size of a 50 cent to $1. And for those people who came before January 26, 1837. And then the first family's medal is about the same size. So this just kind of tells you the timeline for pre-statehood certificates. The main push for settlers into Michigan was somewhere around 1820, 1819 in Rochester, depended. Ours, Clarkston became a village in 1836, and if you go north, you'll just see 1837, 1838, whatever the towns are, people just moved on. And the lumbering industry began in 1830s. The mineral boom in the Upper Peninsula was 1843. Michigan State was founded. Verner's was created somewhere during the Civil War. I think he went off to the Civil War and came back, and there was Verner's. And so this is the application process. So you can see your ancestor, your earliest ancestor that you want to put would be that early ancestor on the top there. The date and the place that your ancestor settled, and I'm going to use Charlene and George's was somewhere in 1835. And then it would say proof of settlement, and we could show you the, this is volume 2 of the history of Oakland County. There are 2 volumes, and in it, when they talk, when they have the Millers, then they say that, you know, the Millers came here. George and Mary Polly Miller came here in 1835. You would say Chile, Monroe County, New York, and it would be George Miller and George and Mary Miller, because you use their regular names. If you use Polly, you put them in quotations. There's places for your for your name, address, and email. That's for the and you're giving permission for them to use your information. And when you finish this with a check for $25 or $50 or whatever you decide to do, you send it to the address below, which is the Michigan Genealogical Council. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the ways that you have to do this. Surnames, in other words, the last name, capital letters. Everywhere you write it on here, capital letters. If your surname is, we'll just use Miller because we're on a roll here, or Bailey, it's capital B, capital A, capital I. So the first name is just as you would normally write it. If you're using, for all women, you need to use their maiden name. For Polly Miller, or Mary, so you would write Mary in regular printing, Polly in quotations, and then Miller in caps. And, well, actually, I'm sorry, Mary Polly Smith, because she was a Smith. So you would not use Miller at all. So you're using their maiden names. That's all right. When you write the date, you write the date as if today's date is 29 February 2020. When you write places down, if you were writing Clarkston, you would write Clarkston, or, well, it depends on where you are. You could write, for the Baileys, you're going to write Independence Township, Oakland County, Michigan, MI, just the postal. For the Millers, where they came from, you're going to write Chile, Monroe County, NY for New York. You know, if you're Vermont, it's VT, and wherever you're coming from. So this will go on every generation that you have to put something. So it's the town or it's either the town or the township. While Clarkstons are mailing, for the Baileys and the Millers, it was Independence Township. They were not in the village of Clarkston. They were in the rural areas of the community. So they would be Independence Township. If we'll say a Holcomb came, Holcomb actually purchased property in Clarkston. So it was Clarkston, Oakland County, Michigan. Don't send any original documents. You won't get them back. Xerox is good. And you're going to number your proofs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And cite your sources. It's kind of like a term paper here. Photocopies. They won't return them. Remember, they're going to the archives. And the committee from the Michigan Genealogical Council is the final determiner of if you're there.